but it takes a very disciplined and goal-set person to like really go after it and do it. There's a part of you that has to be crazy, but there's also a part of you that has to be okay with just like sacrifice and everything. So it's like mentally you have to just be okay with not having anything besides the money. Different mindset. So, but I just want to go after it.
All right, welcome to True Talk. Got a special guest today, my man Stanley Smith. How we doing, bro?
Man, living life. I'm blessed to be here. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, dude. It's great to finally meet you. I was just telling you
been a while.
before, the last few guests have been like screaming about you. So I'm like, you know what? Sure, let's check this kid out. Let's see what he's all about. So, but you've been kicking ass. You've been with us for a couple years now.
Yep. Just over 2 years now.
Just over 2 years.
Dude, it feels like I've been here for a decade.
A decade. How old are you, bro?
22.
22. How much did you make with us last year?
I think I did like 1.1. I never actually did the total numbers, but it was just over $1 million.
Over $1 million.
Yeah.
And you were 21 last year?
21, yeah.
Now, if you could go back to the 18-year-old Stanley and tell yourself you were going to make $1 million before the age of 25, would you believe it?
I honestly, everybody says it, but I was disappointed it took as long as it did. I thought I was going to make $1 million at 18, then 19, then 20, but I never had, like, because when I was working before, I was like 19. I remember putting in my notes, like, goals and stuff, and it was so, like, on my 21st birthday, bro, I shed a tear because it took so long.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you think you would make that amount?
Growing up the whole time, and we'll dive into it later in the podcast, but everybody wanted to always tell me what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. Yeah. And I always talked about, like, you know, this and that. And they'd be like, oh, well, you can't spend money on that because you don't have it. And I'd be like, I will. Or I was always telling my parents I'm going to be worth millions. And they were always like, yeah, you know, that's what everybody says. So, but like from a kid, I've been saying since I was probably 14, 15 years old, I'm going to be a billionaire.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to be one of those billionaires where I got stocks that are worth $1 billion. I want to be actively making $1 billion a year.
Got it.
That's the goal.
Where does that come from, though? Was there somebody you saw in life, a role model on TV? Like, how did that, because you didn't come from money, right?
No.
Where did that seed get planted?
I just, like, you know what you could do with $1 billion?
Right.
It's like, that's the life. Not only that, but, and it's like you said, you know, anybody can sell insurance, but the reality of it is not everybody will.
Right.
Anybody has the possibilities to make billions of dollars.
Sure.
But it takes a very, you know, disciplined and goal-set person to, like, really go after it and do it. Like, there's a part of you that has to be crazy, but there's also a part of you that has to be okay with not being happy, okay with just, like, sacrificing everything. You're not going to be in any relationships long-term. You're not going to be, you know, have any real friends long-term, because if you got $1 million friends, well, when you ascend to the 100 million, no longer are you really with them as long, you know, as much. And then to that next billion, it's like, well, not all of them are going to go with you on that route. So it's like mentally you have to just be okay with not having anything besides the money. It's like a different mindset. So, but I just want to go after it.
And you didn't come from money?
No.
What was it like growing up? Where'd you grow up?
My first, like, 3-4 years, living with my mom, we were living in a trailer park. And then my dad, he had his own house, but they were split. Like, my parents were never together. I never remember a time where they were together.
You with your mom predominantly, or?
It was every other week, but sometimes it was like 2-3 weeks, or, you know, holidays were supposed to be every other, but they weren't always every other. It was just bounced around constantly between the two, which I think is also what developed me into the abilities I have now. Because, like, realistically, I don't like people. You know, if I could just sit in a room by myself all day, I'd be, you know, I'd be cool with that.
It's an odd industry to be a part of, not liking people.
Exactly. But, you know, being in all these different groups, it's like, well, I'm going to school here this year. I'm going to this school next year. You know, I'm on this team. Now I'm on that team. I got these brothers and sisters at this house. I got friends at this one. So you have to learn how to literally fit in every circle.
Did you move around a lot?
Yeah. I lived in New Jersey. I've lived in Decatur. I lived outside of Decatur. You know, I've bounced around, transitioned from schools, different travel basketball teams and stuff, and all different cultures. Like on my mom's side, my stepfather, he's African American, and I grew up with that family. And then on my dad's side, he's, you know, very
like cornfield
Caucasian,
white. Okay.
Cornfield white.
Got it.
You know, he's like wear overalls and blue jeans and drive tractors. So it's like you learn to fit in all these different groups and just become what you need to become in any situation. So,
and I feel like, you know, with anything, we all go through shit growing up. Everyone goes through different stuff, right? And you can look at it from two perspectives. You can look at it was so bad, we had no money, we had this, or kind of to your point, that I was exposed to a lot of different culture, right? What do you think is the biggest thing you learned from growing up that way?
Well, number one's always just going to be, like I said, learning to just fit in every group.
Yeah.
Number two is like there's just no hardship that's you can't overcome or anything like that. And also it's like what you got to realize is tomorrow, one, isn't promised, but two, it's like I don't have problems. I don't have hardships. I didn't have tough times. I had situations.
Mm-hmm.
And through these situations, I had to learn how to overcome situations or solve situations. I had to, learn these things. And the other thing as well is like growing up, I would say I wasn't the happiest kid, but you would have never known. Like I always had a smile, class clown. Everybody was laughing at all times. Like I said, I had to fit in. But like deep down, I was like, man, this shit sucks. It does. But the reality of it is like, if I show everybody else it sucks, then it just creates excuses and just like, then my parents are worried and stressed. Like they never had to worry about me. I was going to get myself ready for school.
Yeah.
I was going to go and do my thing. Like I've been an adult since a very young age. Like I'm just always going to take care of myself. I'm always straight. Never got a problem going on in my life. Everything's great. You guys got enough problems. So.
Right. Gotcha. You said you went to college a little bit, right?
Yeah, I did a semester at Lincoln down in middle of nowhere.
Did you go to study or go to play sports? A little bit of both?
I went for basketball. Yeah. Growing up, everybody wanted me to be a lawyer. So I was going to be a law student
really?
And play basketball.
So you're going to follow that path?
I didn't, but I guess
time, though.
At some point it was the plan.
Yeah, why did everybody want you to be a lawyer?
I was good at arguing.
Okay.
Really good at arguing.
Got it. So you started to pursue.
Yeah, I did. I was basically a full semester. I dropped out literally the last week of the semester. All I had was like 4 finals left. Yeah. And I had like straight A's at the time. I think I had 1 B in like history class or something like that. So grades were perfect. All I had to do was take my finals. But I had gotten a job when I went back on like winter break or something. I did an interview and I had a start date of X time.
Okay.
And like, dude, I was so tired. Warehouse worker. I was making I was gonna make like 22 an hour.
Yeah.
But it was the morning shift. I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. and I started in January. And in Illinois, dude, it's cold.
Yeah, I bet.
So I'm waking up at 4 a.m. in the freezing cold every day to go do that. But I was like, dude, I was tired of being broke. Like I just wanted to have money, even if it wasn't a ton of money. I just wanted.
So you dropped out for the job.
Yeah, so literally I was like, well, if I can either push back my start date and wait a week longer to make some money, or I can just be done with this. I'm done with it anyways.
Got it.
So I went in there and my counselor was like, no, like we're not going to let you drop out. Just take your finals, because what if you have the credits?
Yeah.
She was like, what if you go back to college? And I remember looking at her that day and I just kind of smiled and I was like, I'll never be back.
Yeah.
And here we are. So.
Here you are. You haven't been back since. So how long did you work at the factory?
2 months. That shit sucked. I had to get out of there. It was freezing, man. And I was like just on a line shoveling boxes.
Got it.
But like even, you asked me before the podcast, like, why did I think I'd be successful in this? Everything I've done, like, I just do it to the max. Like I worked at McDonald's for a little bit. I worked there maybe a month. But 2 weeks in, it's like I'm training people. I'm working the door. Like I'm running the McDonald's. And then at the warehouse, it was like we were just moving boxes.
What's your favorite meal at McDonald's? Has nothing to do with this.
Definitely a McChicken. Always going to love a McChicken or a Big Mac.
I got a question. There's nothing to do with this, and y'all can skip this if you want. But why, like if I get nuggets, right, and I'm like, go to the counter, I want an extra sauce, why do they act like it's coming out of their paycheck?
Dude, so stingy with them.
Like, do y'all get in trouble if you give out too many barbecue sauces
it's
or
like
some shit?
Chipotle, no different. Like sometimes they just don't like you. They'll just literally give you a cup, and then you'll be like, "Can I get double meat?" They'll give you like 3 pieces.
Yeah. Like, are they docking your check, bro?
And the worst part about it is, like, at this point in my life, I have enough money. Like, bro, I'll buy that extra chicken, dude. I want some extra
what's it,
food.
$1? Like, come on, bro, knock it off. But it has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
But so you worked at McDonald's for a little bit?
And then the warehouse.
And
even at the warehouse, like there was nobody that was going to move more boxes than me.
Yeah.
If the assembly line went down, I was only there for like 3 weeks. I'm already going underneath, fixing it with the technician, or like if he's not around, I'll just sneak down there, because technically I'm not supposed to do it, but I'll sneak down there and just do it myself. Like, again, I'm just running it.
Is that because you want to advance? Is that because you just are competitive? Like
competitive, want to advance? Not really. I didn't care about my title and never have. Like, we don't do any titles in my agency. It's like, bro, it's. But I just I want to win. Like, I want this thing to move smoothly. Like, I just can't show up and just be a blob. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, why
to
be
me.
there?
It doesn't make sense.
Right.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So everything I've done, though, dude, I like back when I was playing video games, I ran a professional video game team. Like, everything I've done, I've just tried to do. Rainbow Six Siege.
Really? Yo, that's no joke. My son plays it. I'm like, I can't even mess with that. Nope.
Yeah. Nope. I made uniforms. We had jerseys and everything. It was lit. We were doing tournaments. But I just I can't. I refuse to be average.
Yeah. And so you ended up working at a gym, right? Walk me through that. How'd you get that job?
So I was starting like my fitness. I was doing like TikToks and YouTube videos, and I was working out.
You're
I was
like a fitness influencer? We're trying to be?
Potentially.
Yeah.
It could have been.
Okay.
Where'd
you get that idea? Like, I mean, obviously you played sports growing up.
I was shredded. Purely luck and genetics. Because
Yeah.
like I literally ate Jack's pizzas and bagels and shit every day, Pop-Tarts. And I was walking around at like 3.5%, 4% body fat.
Yeah.
Like shredded to the bone. So eventually, just through time, I started filming it and stuff like that. Started doing the YouTube videos. And one day I was in there filming a YouTube video, and I was wrestling my friend. We were like going at it.
Yeah.
And then the owner is sitting down. He calls me over. He's got his hat on. He looks all mean.
You at the gym doing this?
Yeah. So, and the owner of the gym,
Yeah.
super dope guy. He advanced me a lot in life just through his talks and things like that. But he's a South African dude. He's got a lisp. Calls me over. I go sit down with him. I'm like, damn, I just lost my membership. It's over with. And he goes, Stanley, have you ever thought about being a personal trainer? And I was like, no. Why?
How do you get that from you wrestling your boy at the gym?
Well, he was like, I've been watching you over this last month of you being here, and it's like you go out of your way to help everybody. Like we have members coming up to us saying like how cool you are. You always help them with their workouts, their forms, stuff like that. You bring great energy to the gym. We'd love to offer you a job. So I was like geeking. I was like, heck yeah.
Where were you working at this time?
I was doing field maintenance.
Okay.
So for literally like 3 hours a week, I'd go out, hook up a trailer, put a tractor on the trailer, and I'd go to like 7 different baseball fields, and I'd rake them, drag them with the trailer.
Yeah.
I was getting paid like $700-800 a week, bro, for 3 hours of work. Life was great.
And you're how old? Like 20, 19?
18, 19.
Okay.
Yeah, 19 probably. So that was dope.
Yeah.
But he offered me a job, and I was geeking. I'm like, yeah, this is fire. So I ended up signing up with him. I signed up to be a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Or like that's what he hired me for. And my first like 3 days, I was shadowing other personal trainers, like learning, and they're also teaching me the front office stuff, like how to ring people up and stuff like that. And it was Sunday, and they needed somebody to close because they didn't have their closer. And they had a personal trainer that knew how to close. He had been there for like 2 years. He was like, hey, he's going to be here with you. He'll help you if you need anything. Well, I ended up selling 9 memberships on that Sunday, which, I mean, if anybody knows anything about a gym, that's a lot, especially for the type of gym I worked at. It's not like a Lifetime Fitness where people are just walking in all the time signing up for memberships. It's like outreach. So I'm banging the phones. I'm calling people like, hey, we got a special, buy one, get one free.
You're calling with people that have been to the gym before, just cold calling?
Any log of gym people I was calling. I'm also hitting up my friends like, hey, I can get you a discount on memberships right now. So ended up signing 9 people up in that day.
Nice.
And after that day, never personally trained ever. Like I just never, they kept me on the sales force.
Were you getting paid a commission on those sales?
So it was like $25 for a monthly membership, $30 for an annual membership.
Yeah.
And then if you got like 30 memberships, it was like a $500 bonus. If you got 50 memberships, it's a $1,000 bonus.
Okay.
And before I started there, everybody that worked there, it's like a high school. These are like 30-year-old people just like in a high school, dude. There's so much drama, complaining all the time. You can't make any money here. The pay sucks. I was getting paid $13 an hour. It was like minimum wage or whatever it was. It was terrible.
Right.
But I was making $6-7 grand a month at this gym where everybody else is only making $2 grand a month, saying that they can't make any money. Because I'm hitting a $1,000 bonus every month.
Nice.
So I joined like halfway through one of the months. I don't even remember what it was. And that was the only month I ever wasn't number 1 in memberships, and I was number 2. I had like 18. Top person had like 22.
Yeah.
So, and then every month after that, I was number 1 in memberships, never lost. I was usually number 1 or number 2 in protein sales or supplement sales.
Yeah.
And then towards the later in my career, I started selling table PT. So it's like personal training at the table. These are $1,000, $10,000, $20,000 packages at the table.
Yeah.
So typically when a client comes in, you book an appointment with a trainer. They go through, they do an assessment, and then they convince somebody to buy it. If you could sell table PT, though, you were the dude. Because that's like no assessment, nothing. You just come in and convince them off rip just by looking at them and talking to them. You sell them on the. So I was bringing in a lot of money for my age there. Like, I think my best month ever was like $9,700.
Really?
Yeah.
Just selling memberships.
Slinging them.
Yeah. So what happened? You worked there for how long?
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah.
And that was when you found us?
Yeah. So.
Were you looking for something else?
It was getting to a point where I was. So
Why?
timing is everything. In the first 4 or 5 months, if I would have got hit up, wouldn't even have responded. Right. But in December, it was like December 16th. I'm already 32 memberships deep at this point. I'm about to set a PR. I'm going to go for like 70, 80 memberships this month.
Yeah.
Night before, one of my boys was working there with me. He had a friend come in, brought us like Popeyes. So we sat up at the front at like 10 o'clock at night and we ate it or whatever. Then we went upstairs and played ping pong with him in the employee room. We come into work the next day. Sheldon's like, you know, you're fired. It was a lot more aggressive than that, but I won't dive into it.
Yeah.
But he was basically told us we're fired. And I was like,
just because of that, or you did something else that you didn't tell me?
Just because of that. Yeah. But
because you brought him back in the room, the employee room, or
so what it really was is, like I said, like I just always have a smile on my face. I'm pretty sure like he didn't plan on firing us. He just planned on talking to us.
Yeah.
But when he was talking to us about it, it was just such a goofy situation. Like, you're eating chicken tenders at the front. I'm just over there like, damn, dude, we screwed up. Just kind of giggling and smiling at him. And it just flipped a switch and we got pissed.
Damn.
So just cut us. So, but ended up like 2 weeks later, I reached out to him or whatever. He reached out to me. And he was like, well, I never really fired you. I just told you to get out. I was waiting on you guys to text me. You never text me. I'm like, bro.
Come on.
What?
Dude.
So
yeah.
he ended up rehiring me and sent me to basically be a manager at the second location. The second location, not as good, not as many people. Like, if you're number one in memberships, you're number one in memberships out of Yorkville, not out of Naperville. So, and I was there from January to April, I want to say, or March.
Okay.
And I was slinging. Even at Naperville, I was still number one in memberships. But in January, when I had just got rehired, that's when I got the DM from Rena saying like, hey, we're looking for young, driven individuals that work out and are disciplined, blah, blah, blah. Do you keep your business opportunities open? And at that time, everybody was telling me, like, you have a natural gift for sales. Like, go find something that pays you to sell. So I ended up hopping on a call with her and Rob, and it worked out. Like, what they were saying excited me enough.
Before that, Stanley, did you realize how much money was actually in sales? Obviously, from a small, perspective, doing this at the gym, but did you realize how unlimited the cap was?
I didn't, because what drove me crazy is everybody's always like, you got to find a sales gig or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, okay, where's the sales gig at? So, like, I had no idea it was like this.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I knew there was a lot of people out there in the world making a lot more money than I was.
Yeah.
But
you knew nothing about life insurance.
Didn't know what this was. This is bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I knew about life insurance is at one point when I was like 18, some dude from another company had got on a call with me and basically tried to get me a license, and I didn't do it.
Why didn't you do it then?
I have no idea. I was going to college or whatever. It sounded like a scam. I mean, it legit sounded like a scam. They wanted me to pay all this stuff to get my license, and at the time, I thought I was paying them. I didn't realize I was getting licensed to the state.
Got it.
So didn't do it. But I had no clue.
So she DMs you. You weren't really looking. You were back to work, right?
Right.
You weren't actively online, like trying to find an opportunity. No. What'd you think when she DM'd you? Thought it was bullshit, or you're like,
I literally was like, oh, here we go, one of these again. Send her back some. I was like, yeah, we can hop on a call. You know, sent her my number, and even then, I felt sketchy sending her my number. But we ended up hopping on a call.
What made you hop on the call, though? Because a lot of people would have just been like, this.
Bro, if I get a call that says spam risk, hello, how are you doing? I'm answering it.
Answered,
like, I just have fun.
Yeah.
So
you weren't really looking for anything. You're like, she messaged me. Let me just see what this all about.
Yeah, I was like, all right, here we go again with this, but I'll respond.
Okay.
So, but when I hopped on the call, Rob Richmond's, the way he phrased it was, I'm getting a license to print money. And that sounded like the coolest thing in the world. So, and he promised to fly me to Dallas and put me in a nice hotel, treat me for a weekend and give me some free leads. So I was like, this sounds dope. I'll come out there. Didn't quite go that way, but
he didn't fly you out there.
He didn't. It took him like 3 weeks to get me out there.
Okay,
it was supposed
eventually
to be the day
did.
I got licensed.
Okay.
Yeah. But to be fair, she hit me up in January.
Yeah.
I didn't even get my license till like April 25th or something like that. Like, it took me ages.
Why'd it take you so long?
So, obviously, like, I'm working in the gym making money. And the course, the webinar, like, I'm missing the webinar. I'm like 2 hours into the webinar, and I'm like, this sucks. And then I failed my test like 5 times.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got your license when? April
like 25th, I think. And then obviously it took like a week to get contracts and everything like that. May 3rd was like my first, like, we're going after it day.
What was your plan at that point? Was it to do this on the side? Was it to quit?
No, I told my boss what was up.
Yeah.
He took me out to dinner to offer me the GM position at that location, but he was opening a brand new one.
But he took you out after you told him you were leaving?
No, so he was taking me to Texas Roadhouse to offer me that position.
Yeah.
And then when I sat him down, I was like, before you start, I want to tell you something. I have an opportunity. I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to go after it.
Got
I
it.
said, you're struggling right now, though. You need numbers and you need workers. I said, I'll stay for however long you need me. I said, give me permission to hire a closer, because that's what I was doing. I was working the closing shift. Give me permission to hire the closer. I'll personally train him. I'll get him started, everything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm out of here. You got 30 days to figure this out. He was like, all right. So I hired a dude, got him started, trained him and everything like that. And then I was out the door before I even had my license, because I was like, I know I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
So
what was it? Just your faith in yourself? Was this like, what was it about this industry or this company that you knew, like, I'm going to make it work there? Because you could be the greatest salesperson in the world, but if the vehicle isn't right, if the comp isn't there, you'll be broke in this industry.
I mean, broke, but like, there's no way I can't figure out how to make $5,000 a month.
Okay, so you were replacing $5,000. You're like, I can do that.
There's no way I can't figure that out.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, it's like when he called me, obviously Steve's on his team, so he's telling me about this dude that's cracking $1 million a year just slinging insurance. I'm like, bro, I can do 200, 300,000 at least. Like, if he can do over $1 million, I can do half that.
Got it. What was the most you've made income wise prior to getting into this business?
9.7 that 1 month.
But I'm saying in a year, did you hit six figures?
No. Maybe 20, 30 grand. I remember I had in my notes, I was like, I got to make 100K this year.
Yeah.
And I was like 20 grand in, 30 grand in, 4 months in, and I was like 16 grand in, 4 months in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if I do the math, I'm set to make about 35,000 this year. Where am I gonna get the other 65 from? That was the year I started insurance.
Okay.
And then from May to December, I made about 185,000.
Yeah.
Just slinging.
What was it like early on? So you had success in sales, gym sales, right? I mean, you're grinding, hitting the phones. This is different. It's lead based. What was it like your first few weeks?
First 2 weeks, like I said, I'm waking up because you're supposed to start dialing at 8 a.m. So I'm waking up. I'm texting Rob, like, we're going to have a fire day today. This is going to be the day I get my first sale. And then I'm going back to sleep because I'm working from home. And then I'd wake up like 1, 2 p.m. and that's when I'd actually start. Or like I'd wake up every hour or so to text Rob, I'm dialing all day, no success. And then I'm back asleep. And then I'd wake up, play some video games. I'd get on the phone around like 2, 3.
Yeah.
And I put in like quick little 100 dials, I'd get smacked. And then girlfriend would come home. I'd go back to playing video games, spending time with her or whatever.
Got it.
Did that for about 2 weeks. And I was like, all right,
this is gonna work. Did you sell anything in those 2 weeks?
My grandma and grandpa.
Nice. How'd you do that? You called them up, you went over, they lived locally?
I went to their house. I went to their house, went through the app with them, got them some coverage, took care of them. And then I was like, this isn't going to work. So I started thinking to myself, like, I got to go all in on this. And like part of what was holding me back was my girl. So I got to cut her off.
Okay.
So I did. I packed all my stuff up. Within like one day, we were going to the movies and we were arguing about something. She was lying to my face and she was like, if we're going to argue, let's not even go to the movies. I was like, that's actually a really good idea. I don't even want to do this anymore. She was like, what, you don't want to argue anymore? And I was like, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. Busted a U-turn at the red light, went home, packed my bags, was out the door in 30 minutes.
Got it.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I went upstairs to another apartment for a little bit. And then I called Rob one night. It was like 3 weeks in at this point. I had sold like 8, 9 grand that week because I had went up to an office and like actually seen it in person for the first time. Like I could believe in it.
So part of that you just heard, you didn't really see it.
I never seen anybody close a deal. I wasn't watching no YouTube videos on it or nothing like that. Like this was still a fairy tale to me. And then I went to an office for a week and like actually watched it and it boom sold like 9 grand that week. So
what was the biggest thing you learned that week?
That it was real. Like people actually did this. Clients actually buy it, And then
so I just kind of doubting it, like.
I just, I'm calling all these people and I'm giving them quotes and they're just like, okay, thank you for the quotes. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here. Right. So then it like sparked it and I got a little more pushy with the clients, got a little more, on top of it, learned a few tips and tricks. And that's when I discovered mortgage protection too. And then from that day forward, I called Rob and I was like, hey, what's the mortgage protection deal? And he was like, here, you can try it. I'll send you some leads. And I was getting my butt kicked on mortgage protection, the first like week or two.
Why do you think you struggle with mortgage?
It's just a lot more information based. You got to know the products, you got to know what's approving what, and at that point, I didn't. So, but anyways, I leave my girl. 2 days later, I'm like, Rob's supposed to be flying me out in like 2 days, 3 days, because he's finally flying me out for some contest he was holding at his office. So I call him up. I'm like, hey, have you booked my flight yet? Mind you, this is 3 days before I'm supposed to fly out. He's like, no, I haven't. Why? What's up? I said, perfect, just book a one-way. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, book a one-way ticket. I'm not coming back. He said, where are you going to stay? I was like, well, I got X amount of dollars. The math on that is I can survive this many days. It was like 2 weeks in a motel or whatever.
Yeah.
If I don't make that money in those 2 weeks, I got about another week or two where I can sleep on a floor in the office before I go insane. So I got about 3-4 weeks till I'm down here. So either we make a bunch of money and we make it happen, or I do the most embarrassing thing ever and I call my mom and ask for $500 so I can get a flight back home and go back to living in her house. Yeah. Not going to happen. So it's going to be option one. We're going to figure it out. And I went down there, and the first night when I flew down there, he let me stay at his house. Okay. And I thought he was letting me stay there. So I went to the office next day, left all my bags at his house and whatnot. He's like, bro, you're not like staying here, right? Well, I did. I ended up staying there for like 4 or 5 days, and then I ended up staying with somebody else that I had met down there. Yeah. So it worked out. And then like 3 weeks in, I got my own apartment. Ended up getting a car. I got an apartment 2 minutes from the office, so I was just walking to the office every day.
In Texas?
Yep. Ended up getting a car. I deposited like $17,000 my first 30 days. Yeah. Spent like 9 of it on leads. I was going all in because I called him and I was like, hey, I suck at this mortgage protection thing, but I see a lot of potential here, so I'm cutting off everything else that I'm doing and I'm going 100% on mortgage. And he was like, dope. And then for a long time, I was the king of age mortgage. There was nobody slinging it like me.
What were you buying for leads? Old leads?
Yep. I only ran 6 to 3 month age mortgage from Proven. Yeah. And that was literally the only lead I touched for like 8 months straight.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of the cost, or?
I mean, they weren't cheap. Right. It wasn't because of the cost. It was just.
What are you paying per lead, roughly?
$8 to $10.
Okay.
Depending on whether they were 3 month or 6 month.
Got it.
So it's just what I went all in on, and I was ripping 40 to 50 grand a month off it. In my first, couple months. And that was good because it's not like it is now. You know, after being here 2 years, the age has significantly decreased. It's a ton of young slingers, and the office culture has boomed. Right. Right? Because before you guys just transitioned to virtual, it was a work-from-home deal. Office culture is really booming these last 2 years. So now it's like everybody that's starting now, it's the best time to start. Yeah. Because like now, if we plug somebody in, we got 180, 70K a month producers that they're plugging in with. The ceiling's a lot higher. The office I went into, if I was selling 50 grand a month, I was the number one producer in the office. That was crazy. Yeah. And it was like 40, 50-year-old dudes. So it was like, that was insane. Yeah. So this is the best time by far.
So with us, your first year, how much did you sell? You got your numbers here.
Well, I started in May. So 270 was from May to December. Okay. And then that next year I did Hall of Fame. It was like over. But if you do the actual first 12 months, I'm pretty sure I was Hall of Fame then as well.
Yeah, yeah. But your first full year, 24, you hit Hall of Fame, 400K. But your agency is kicking ass. I mean, you guys are at these numbers are backdated a little bit, but over 13 million so far. Or your numbers better than me.
Yeah, we're at like 14.6 right now. Yeah.
And you said to me before we got on that your goal is to get to 10 million a month before the end of the year. Yeah. Right.
It's our drop dead, not our goal.
Drop dead.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you need to do that?
Bring in, I always look at it as this. There's always 2 ways you can do it. Either the people you already have better start
selling more,
tripling. Yep. Or you got to bring in X amount of people. And I always start with the first one first. Mm-hmm. So when I look at it right now, I'm going to go back home, right? I'm going to look at all of our numbers. I'm going to analyze everything, and I'm going to say, okay, step 1, 0 recruiting for 2 weeks. I don't want a single new agent in here. Here's what we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. Every single agent in this office, in our building, is 1, going to get paid, but 2, going to grow exponentially. We're going to double everything we have. Once we've done that, so we've raised the bar, we've raised our guideline, and all the 60 new agents we already have aren't just getting swept up and rolled in with new agents getting left in the dust. They're all, set and getting paid. Then we'll open the gates back up, and we'll do that for a month or 2. Now we got another 60, 70 bodies. All right, shut them down. We will grow this. So first thing when I'm growing, I always look at first, not bringing in new stuff to add to the growth, because that's not really growing. Like, yes, my numbers are increasing, making more money. Technically, my business is growing, but the people in my business aren't growing, and that's what's actually important. So step 1 is always just shutting down the flow of people and just getting everybody in our building paid. Yeah.
And then we'll go to add people. Would you agree that most people are not at capacity? Most people...
Nobody's at capacity, right? Because there's no such thing as a limit. It's like, I have this limit. This is the most I can do. Well, then you do it, and you realize, I can do more. Correct. So you're never going to be at your capacity.
And you have a lot. What's your average age for your agents? And your
19, 20 years old.
And most of them probably didn't come from money.
No.
This is something that is, I think it's key to growing an agency with guys your age, because you got someone who, they didn't come from money. So whatever they're making now, dude, it's like they won the lottery, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep them motivated to do more when
Boom,
they're good financially,
part.
right? Like,
that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you show them I'm making $700-800 a month, they realize that their 20-30 ain't that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the deal: is I'm in the office every day still to this day. Like, theoretically, I could probably be retired right now.
Right.
But there's no point to it, because that's not going to get us $10 million a month.
Correct.
So I'm in the office every day. Every now and then I'll touch the phones once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But main thing is just like always being present, trying to be on time. And, the reality of it is I'm not fit to answer that question yet, because those are the things I'm struggling with now. At 22 years old, it's like, well, one day I was making 20-30 grand a month. Next thing I know, it was 100-200.
Yeah.
Wasn't satisfied. Well, then it exploded. Now it's 600,000-700,000, 800,000 a month.
Right.
At 22 years old, it's getting harder and harder every day to wake up on time. It's getting harder and harder every day to stay later. It's getting harder and harder every day, even when I'm at the office, to actually focus and work and not just like do something random on my phone.
Because you're good.
And that's the.
But
that's
how
the
many
problem.
agents do you have right now?
We're at like 200.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing is, we got a lot of people that still need help, and it's not fair. It's not fair to them, just because I made it, that I don't give them the same opportunity to make it that I had because I'm not present.
Sure.
So, it's a hard, dude. It's a hard pill.
Yeah. But that's your answer. It's, can I get them to where I'm at, and then where do I go? You know what I mean?
100%.
It's not easy, but that's the answer.
And it's hard, because I know, like, there's a lot of people, and they start making 30-40. I got a kid came in first 4 months is making 60-70 grand a month. It's like, dude, he's nowhere to be found half the time. Nowhere to be found. Shout out Josh.
Yeah.
In the office,
where you at, bro?
where you at? Nowhere to be found. He finds it like all of a sudden he's going to the gym in the middle of the day. All of a sudden he's got to, meal prep at night, so he's got to leave early. All of a sudden he's got to take care of his family on the weekends. It's like, bro, where did all this come from? You weren't doing none of this when you were broke.
We're going to shout out someone who is making some money. This is our rising star. So now they're not your numbers yet, Stanley, but everybody's got to start somewhere. So this guy here, Junior Ferreira, he's with FFL Vantage Financial and just issued $36K for the first time this past month. So he's our rising star. We're going to check this out, see what he has to say here.
So my biggest piece of advice for a brand new agent looking for success, find a good leader that's in a place you want to be. And as crazy as it sounds, just blindly follow exactly what he's saying. When I started, I was struggling a little bit, and every time I thought about complaining or having a bad day, I was blessed enough to look at my best friend AJ in my upline, and he was always there before I was, and he would leave after I would. So if he's in a better position than I am, and I want what he has, why not just blindly listen and do everything he tells me? Because first of all, I could trust him, and I knew that he wanted to put me in a better place than I was currently. So if I could tell you anything, is just blindly listen to people who are at the top, try to imitate exactly what they're doing. The business is made, you don't have to complicate it, just fucking rinse and repeat.
All right, so he said a lot, but what's key there is something you kind of touched on as well here, is finding someone who's doing what you want to do. And it sounds simple, but it's not. Because, I mean, you get guys started, and you ever go to a meeting, you're like, bro, why are you asking him for advice? He don't do shit yet. We like him. He's nice. He's dressed nice. He's a friendly guy.
100%.
But he hasn't sold a policy yet, and he's training you on products and processes and this. Why don't you go talk to Steve over there, who's top producer every year? Why don't you go talk to Stanley?
100%.
I mean, I'm sure you see this.
We run into it in my own office.
Yeah.
It's like people are trying to train people. I'm like, bro, you.
Right. What are you doing?
Yeah.
How about you do something first?
100%. One thing I want to add to what he said, though, is like, that's going to take you so far, right? Blindly following somebody or just following your leader. What people need to start to do is taking what their leader gives them and taking it to teach themselves how to become their own leader.
Right.
Like, you're not going to make it to the top of the top of the top being a follower just because someone else is doing really good. That takes you so far. Mm-hmm. You have to create your own identity and your own brand, your own confidence, your own belief. And you do that by, like, yes, take his advice and bring in all the things. And a lot of times it's not even taking his advice. It's going to be watching what he's doing and putting it into your life, becoming your own leader for yourself.
Right.
And I think that's one thing a lot of people lack, is they just have no self-leadership.
Yeah. It's Sean used to say this. There's steps to this, right? You get started, you learn how to sell. That's the first. You got to learn how to sell.
Have to.
Then you got to teach someone to sell. Then the next one is, can you teach someone to teach someone how to sell? And that's how you build a big agency.
I preach that 24/7.
There's one of you, bro.
There's one. You have to sell 40 grand a month first.
Yep.
Because if you're not selling, realistically, if you're not selling 30, 40, you're making
You're broke.
5, 10 grand a month. You're broke.
Let's just be honest.
You're not making 20, 30 grand until you're selling 40, 50 grand a month.
Correct.
And you have to do that, one, so you can teach other people to do it. But two, if you want to build a business, you have to be able to fund your business.
Right.
Right? I'm bringing broke people in off the street. We got to pay for licenses sometimes. We got to help them with leads. Like, there's costs that go into running a business.
Mm-hmm.
There was, at least. Now it's like it's running itself. But for the longest time, I was putting everything I had into the growth of it. That's why we exploded.
Yeah.
It wasn't how much do I need to do. It was if I was walking down the hallway and I heard someone like, oh, man, I don't get paid for 2 days. I need some leads. Boom, turn around. Here's a credit card. Bro, just get some because we need production today. Whatever y'all need, we're doing it today. Because I could be rich tomorrow, but I'm getting rich today. And that was always the mindset. So it's like, how much money could I dump into this today, whether it's needed or not, just to continue to fuel it.
Right.
And let this thing just take off. And that's what it did. I mean, we were doing, my first 12 months, if you look at the thing, we're doing 100 grand a month.
Yeah.
I've only been in here 2 years. We went from 100 grand to 3.5 million in the last year.
What is the key to that? Why do you think you did that?
Obviously, everything's a little bit of luck, right?
Sure.
I was so blessed to find just ride or die people that stuck with me and believed in everything that I was saying and trusted me to guide them.
Were these people you knew Warren Market or you found through social media?
I met them at the gym,
Yeah.
But then there was also a few very key pieces that we added in through just recruiting, through people just finding us on social media.
Yeah.
And I was blessed with that. And then just obviously do Monday through Sunday, 7:30, 8 a.m. till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night every day.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a dinner I went to that was with friends or family. It was with my people. There wasn't a thing that I went to go have fun with that was with friends or family. It was with my people. Everything I did for like 7, 8 months straight was only with my people. And every time I had a couple extra bucks, it was getting poured into my people. Like, I was doing everything I could to fund this thing and just continue to blow it up and blow it up and blow it up. Like, I remember my first month making like 200 grand. I was like, oh shit, I made 200 this month. That's crazy because I only got like 20 left over. It's all gone.
Yeah, but because you funded the business to make that.
That month, lock-ins, leads, dinners. Everybody was having a good old time.
Yeah.
And then everybody we added in, there's 3 things we don't do. I don't work with virtual people. You have to relocate. If someone's willing to pick up their life and relocate, I'm going to do everything I can to get that guy paid.
So if you're in where, Illinois now?
Illinois.
So if I'm in Connecticut, I call you up, I want to work with you, I have to move to Illinois?
That's perfect. How much a month are you making right now? Do you have any saved? What are your bills? Okay, so these are bills. This is what you have to pay. Do you have that saved? So you got 30 days. I'm going to get you housing. I'm going to take care of everything. We're going to get you on a flight. I need 30 days of your time. Then in that 30 days, it's my job to make them money and make sure they don't want to leave because we don't do virtual. You have to be in office and you have to locate to us. And we don't work with part-time people. There's no college kids.
Right.
You got to drop out. No sports stuff, no part-time jobs, none of that. Give me 30 days, and I promise you I'm going to make up for it. And the reality of it is I have enough money now. It's where if I promise that to somebody and they do everything I ask of them and aren't successful, bro, I'll take care of you. That's my bad. I should have made it work.
Have you had to do that?
I mean, not really. Because if they do what they're supposed to do in those 30 days, if they just grind and they commit to this 100%, they don't got no girlfriend, they cut out all their friendships, like they are 100% committed to this, which is what it takes for the record. A lot of people fail to realize that. They think it's going to work with 70% commitment. I'm giving it all I have outside of what I give to everybody else. That's not all you have then. Giving it all you have is not giving anything to anybody else and giving 100% of you to your business, right? If they do that for 30 days, there's no world where they don't make money. More importantly, there's very few worlds where they're not making 10, 15 grand that month.
Right.
Because it's like if you work the schedule and you put in the dials and you have a leader that's going to fund those leads and, help you and teach you how to fund your own leads as well as time goes on, it's a repeatable system. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of people that it's just not going to work for.
Yeah.
Even with that being said. because it takes a different kind of person
Absolutely.
to actually 100% commit yourself to something.
Yep. And the thing is, it is simple. It's hard work, though.
Oh,
it ain't.
dude, it's
It's not easy, but it's simple.
The hardest work is up here.
Correct.
Like, it is mentally hard.
Yep.
You go in there, you dial for 12 hours, $500, and you get kicked in the face.
Yep.
And then it happens 2-3 days in a row.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
And that will happen after months of having.
That's when it got the worst.
Yeah.
Like, in the beginning, you know, I'm ripping.
I say it's all
if I have
time
a bad
here.
day, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But
I bring this up all the time here. My worst day in the field, Stanley, I had been doing this for probably 3-4 months already. I was selling. Now, at the time, it wasn't these numbers, but back in the day, 200 grand put you top of the leaderboard, right? So I'm selling 20, 30 grand a month. And then I go out, we're in home, 10 appointments scheduled from 8 a.m. till 8, 9 o'clock at night. Every single appointment was there. I closed none. Dude, months after making money, and I'm like, this, like,
That's how
dude,
it
I'm ready to
happens.
quit. I'm like, this is horrible, but it's
we call those character building days.
Yeah, oh yeah,
That's
oh, it's
that'll build
character
your-
built that day, bro.
Yeah. So, and that's what like I was selling 40, 50 grand a month, and just for like 2 days straight, I'm getting smacked. And I'm talking to people. It's
Yep.
not like they're not answering the phone.
Right.
I'm just
Oh
getting
no, that's when they're all
smacked.
there.
And it's like, bro, this
Yep.
is brutal.
But it's the first lesson Sean taught me, because I was lucky enough to be recruited directly by Sean. Now, I say lucky loosely, because if you know Sean now, imagine that times 100 10 years ago. But it was right up my alley, dude. Like, I
Right.
grew up where everyone's yelling and screaming at everybody. It was a chaos. So, like, chaos was calm to me for some reason.
100%.
But his first lesson he taught me was attitude, activity. You're like, well, it's simple. Yeah, it's very simple. If you can control those two things, you will have success. in
Always
this
have a good
business.
attitude and always put up a lot of activity.
Absolutely. And you can, and there's people with the amount of recruiting you've done, I know you've seen both sides. You got the guy who's all attitude, no activity, right? He's the most positive guy. Hey, Stanley, you look great today, man. How's it going? You're like, dude, are you ever going to pick up the phone and work?
Never.
He's got every excuse.
There's
why
that
not?
dude you walk around the office, because my office is a square, right?
Yeah.
So when I walk in, you know, I dap up everybody, I go see everybody. And then when I'm running through my day, I'm going through it. And I'm like, bro, I just passed you in this hallway and this
followed
hallway.
you, yeah.
I came back to this one and I'm passing you again. How did I just pass you 10
Yep.
times in 2 hours?
Right.
Are you not working?
Yep.
But he's the most lit dude ever.
Absolutely.
He's dapping you up. He's smiling like, oh, what's up?
He's nodding in the meetings. He's always laughing. You're like, yo, but if you actually did some work, you would have some money.
100%.
And then you have the opposite, right? You got the guy who's working his ass off, dude. I'm
And just
pounding the phone.
hates his life
Yep.
24/7.
This sucks. The client sucks. The carrier sucks. The lead sucks.
Everything.
Maybe it does, or maybe it doesn't. It's all about your perspective.
Well, and here's the deal. Let's say it does suck.
Sure.
That's the situation we're in.
Yeah.
It sucks.
What can you control?
Are you
though?
gonna give up? No. So then make the shitty or make the sucky situation somehow good. Like if the
Right.
leads are terrible, my goal is no longer to have good leads. My goal is to be the best at running terrible leads.
Right.
Right. It's like I'm only worried about the things I can control 24/7. If it's something I can't control, what am I gonna do? Complain about it? No.
No.
It takes time and energy.
Yep.
And
But that's what most people do. They focus on the
that's
shit
why
they have
most people
no-
aren't making $700-800 grand a month
100%.
selling insurance.
That's why can anyone do this? No, absolutely not. Because of shit like that. It doesn't take a special background. You don't have to have sales experience. You don't have to have any. You can come, dude, Dominique, right? You know Dom Rogers?
Yeah.
He didn't have a job, right? He played college baseball.
Yeah.
And then started selling life insurance. The Integrity Partner.
Bro, we got some crazy stories.
I'm
There's
sure.
people that were sleeping in their cars and
Yeah.
they're selling 20-30 grand a month now.
No sales
you know?
experience.
None.
Who's some of your top? Give me a couple names. Some of your top guys who have no sales experience, but are on. You said you had 20 on Hall of Fame pace.
Yeah, we got George Taylor. He's
Okay.
already Hall of Fame. He's at like 450 this year already.
What was his background?
I don't know if he wants me to share it on here.
Okay.
It wasn't, he was just a nobody,
All right.
you know?
Did he ever sell it? Anything
No,
legally?
never
No.
sold anything.
Got
Not
it.
even illegally. He
Not
wasn't
even
selling
illegally.
stuff, you
Okay.
know? But yeah, no sales experience at all. And then you dive into like, we got Roston, who's one of my top managers now. He was working at Bell Tire, slinging tire, like
Yeah.
putting on and taking off tires. He was a tire mechanic. Bruno Fuentes, he's going to do a Hall of Fame this year. He's a dog. He worked at, I think, Bell Tire also.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of dudes from like the Bell Tire.
Okay.
We took all
Putting
their
them out of
employees.
business.
Yeah.
Hey.
But just a ton of people that just like, they were doing the most average stuff, or even more so, like so many people that just graduated high school.
Right.
Never even been in anything. Like this is their first job.
Yeah.
Let alone did they sell stuff. They've never even worked a job.
Right. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to wrap up with some fun stuff, dude. I'm going to rapid fire some things at you. I know you've heard of the game Would You Rather, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw some stuff at you, and you let me know which one of these would you rather do. So the first one, actually based on a story you told me earlier, I'm going to use this one. So would you rather cold call your ex or door knock during the Super Bowl?
Door knock during the Super Bowl?
Okay.
I don't care about sports.
All right. Would you rather have a client say, I'll think about it, or I have coverage through work?
Either one.
Either one. You don't. Which one?
Both of them are laydowns.
Okay.
I'll think about it. It's fun. I like that one.
You take that one?
Yeah.
Would you rather get rejected 50 times in a row or go back to your 9 to 5 for a week?
Rejected 50 times in a row.
The last one, all right, stay with me on this one. Would you rather never get a charge back again, but you can't recruit, or build a massive agency and deal with 30% chargebacks?
Build a massive agency and deal with 30% chargebacks.
Yeah, that's
100%.
Yep.
And that just goes out there for all the people that are worried about chargebacks. If 30% is charging back, but I'm generating $1 million a month, that's $700,000.
Right, that's the side you don't see. 70. So if 30's falling off, that means 70% sticking. And from a placement standpoint, most carriers they salute you, dude. Good shit. All right, true or false? I'm gonna throw some random statements at you. You let me know in your opinion if they're true or false. So this fits you because y'all a bunch of young kids. Do you need a high school degree to sell life insurance?
False. Right?
Right.
Okay. I didn't
It's
know
not
that.
like a test, here's a good one, since you talked about McDonald's earlier. If you've ever eaten McDonald's, you should get life insurance today.
True.
Yeah, you don't know what's in that shit.
I think if you've ever breathed air, you should probably have
there
life
you go.
insurance.
I like that. Some of the best clients are the most difficult ones to close.
100% true.
And most people fail in sales because they quit too early.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've seen this. How many times
True,
have you had a
true,
guy,
true.
you're like, dude, if you would have just stuck with it, like you were this close.
I've had dudes that made 20 grand their first month, and then next month only made 7, 8 because chargebacks or they didn't work as hard or whatever. And they're like, oh, I just can't do it. Like, you were making $0 before. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
They just can't deal with the highs and lows.
Right. And that is one of the hardest things in this business, dealing with that roller coaster.
But if you know, like, okay, let's use the roller coaster analogy. Just because the roller coaster is ups and downs and it's a little scary, you can't unbuckle and jump off.
Right.
You'll die.
Correct.
And that's the reality of it. Is like when I signed up for life insurance, or not for life insurance, but when I got my license, I told myself I am 100% all in. That's why I booked the one-way flight. That's why, like, I was 100% committed. There was no world where it didn't work out. That was not an option.
Right.
Like, and then I remember, you know, not to get deep and emotional, but I was on a phone call with my mom, and I told her, I was like, Mom, like, she was tripping or whatever, and I'm like, you don't understand, like, I've been through so much in life. Like, I'm either making this work out or I'm, you know, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Off in it. So
This is when you were in Texas?
yeah.
Yeah.
This is like 2 months in. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know why you're worried. Like, it's this or death, and I'm not dying. So,
Yeah.
you know, like I knew there was not a doubt in my body that I wasn't gonna make this happen. It's like you can't get on a roller coaster and just jump off halfway.
Right.
That's not a thing. Like you
Right.
gotta see it through. You gotta stick to it, and that's where a lot of people just
Yeah.
fall off.
And with people, it's different. Some people, it's the highs, right? They start going on a streak, they're closing, and then they get too full of themselves, and then they start shortcutting things, and
The
all of a
problem
sudden
at
they're
a
not
young
closing.
age, especially where like I come from and the people we're recruiting come from, is when you've never been exposed to money, when you get money, the women, the alcohol, the distractions, the nice dinners, the designer, you know, all these things, these temptations, you know, because now that I have access to those things because I have money, they ruin a lot of people's lives.
Right.
Because you can't go and live a high life for 2 months and then barely be able to pay bills 1 month.
Correct.
And be like, oh, you know, it's like it'll ruin you. You know, it's like, I mean, imagine you're at a casino, you win 100 grand and then you lose it all. It's like, even though you only lost 1,000 because you only bought in for 1,000,
Right.
in your mind you want to just go do unspeakable things. Like
Right.
that's bad. So, and that's what gets a lot of people. You know, it got me for a short period of time. There was like a month or two where I was like, for the first time ever, thought I was gonna give up.
When was that?
It was like December, January. So I had got my tonsils taken out end of December.
Yeah.
And I was down for like 2 weeks. And then I had went to Mexico for my uncle's wedding or something. That was another week. So I was out for 3 weeks. I came back to like 16 grand in chargebacks. I've built and rebuilt and built and rebuilt. I mean, dude, I've been at $100,000 for almost a year now. Like, it just can't get past that number. And I'm trying to help all these people. I'm shelling out $20,000 a month just building my agency. And I thought to myself, I was like, you know, I could just say screw this whole agency thing and just go sell 70, 80 grand a month and live off 50, 60 and figure out how to do that. And I remember having a conversation with the dude. He was like, yeah, you should do it. He was supposed to be this good financial advisor guy. He's like, yeah, you should do it. And then, you know, I'll teach you what to do with that money. And after hearing him talk, I was like, nah, I'm not going to give up. But I was like, I was ready to just throw the whole agency thing out the window, go ghost, and just sling some insurance from the crib or something. Yeah. It was like, dude, it was brutal. And like I said, I was 16 grand in debt. I owed 10 grand on the credit card. It was maxed. Like, I couldn't pay it. I had maybe 2 grand on my bank account. So piece by piece, one carrier by one carrier, covered the smallest amount of debt first, got it down, slung through that carrier, got paid, got some more leads, did the same thing over and over, just played it, you know, day by day and got out of it. But at that point, like, my agency was falling apart again. I had one dude that was like, I probably had 6 agents. He had 4 of them. You know, I'd let him have 4 of them, which was dumb. You know, don't build your business that way. Nope. But
people don't appreciate free lunch.
And, you know, I could tell he was out the door. Me and him were butting heads a lot. And that's when I moved back to Illinois, February 23rd, I was like, you know, I'm either going to give up on this and just sell insurance out of Dallas because Dallas is dope, or I'm going to go back to Illinois, which I hate, and go all in on this agency thing. And that's what I did. And we took this shit to the moon.
Yeah. Aren't you glad you didn't go the other route?
We took this shit to the moon, dude.
Love it. Well,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, the life now is like literally what people dream of, you know? Foreign cars, penthouses, private jets, like, we do it all. It's insane to actually think about. I was sitting in the Alex Macias. That's my brother, dude. Like, he's been with me for a year and a half now, you know, and when he came to me, he was 60 grand in debt, credit card debt. He was trying to wholesale. He barely knew how to speak to people. Like, he was the most shy person in the world. And just throughout time, like, he's got a $1 million a month agency now. He's making 150, 200K a month. Like, you know, we're there now. Yeah. And we were sitting in my Lambo the other day. We were just sitting there. I always, like, if it's somebody I'm real close with, I just let them drive because, 1, they're super geeks to do it, and 2, then I get to sit in the passenger seat. I don't have to drive. And he's driving it, and he just looks over and he just starts laughing. I'm like, I knew it right away what he was thinking about now. I was like, dude, we fucking did it. Yeah. We did it, awesome. Man. This is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Well, good for you, dude. Don't let up. Keep kicking ass. I appreciate you coming up. Really do, especially with how much you guys are working to grow this thing, to take some time out. Here's the reality of it. If it wasn't for FFL, Family First Life, who knows what I'd be doing, you know? Yeah. And obviously, eventually down the road, I would have been rich, whatever. Sure. But FFL gave me the vehicle to do it the quickest. So anything I can do for you guys, I'm always here. I appreciate it, dude. And I mean, it's a great point for a lot of us. Like, guy, I don't know if you know Adrian, our IT director. He said this a few years ago, because you get caught up, and I'm sure y'all do too, you get caught up in the day-to-day and the numbers and the grind. But he was like, dude, you don't realize how much of an impact you guys, I mean, FFL, has had to so many people. Vendors, carriers, agents, families of agents, clients. Like, we had over 20,000 agents get paid on an individual policy last year. And not all of them are selling $1 million, whatever. But that's a lot of lives being impacted. We're getting close to... And you just don't even put it in perspective. You don't, even like me, like, I'm so stressed 24/7, dude. 24/7, just focused on growing and building and building and building. And, like, then I get stressed about like, people that should be making money and aren't, or like people that are just lazy, and like all these problems we got to fix and stuff like this. And I'm just always worried about those. And every once in a blue moon, you just take a step back, like, we got Joe, Mary, and Sally change their lives, you know. Absolutely. You take Kayla, you know. Yeah. Change. Yeah, check out her podcast, all the shit she's going through. Massive. And where she's at now. And even George, like, when he came to me, he's killing it now. Yeah. And when he came to me, he was nothing. I got Drew. He lives with me. He's one of my best friends. He was a construction worker, you know. He'd probably be either in jail or still slinging construction. He makes 30 grand a month now. You know, Ross was at a tire shop. He makes 100 grand. Like, we're really doing it. It's so awesome, crazy to put in perspective. Like, you know, it's good stuff. Well, let everybody know where to follow you on social. Yeah, it's If Stan Was Rich on everything. Instagram, YouTube.
Okay,
I got
If
a
Stan
bunch of
Was- I like that.
podcasts. And we're changing it soon.
Yeah.
It's about to be If Stan.
Yeah, because you are rich
Yeah,
now.
Stan Is Rich. Yeah.
There you go. I like
Something
that.
like that. So,
But thanks again, dude. Keep kicking ass. Thanks for going out there and validating the model. And that's, as a company, that's the only way we grow is get like the old guys. The old guys. We did it already years ago.
and it's like, oh yeah, they did it. They had special treatment. Blah blah blah. Here's what I tell everybody, because obviously any insurance industry, scam, pyramid scheme,
Sure.
it's all those things. I was joining the exact same thing that you guys are calling blah, blah, blah 2 years ago.
Right.
And I did it.
Right.
It's like everybody has an opportunity.
Sure.
Not everybody can do it, but everybody has an opportunity. It's what you make of the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you go into an opportunity with bad intentions, bad mindset, it's going to be a bad opportunity. If you go
100%.
into the worst opportunity with the best attitude ever and you're like, I'm going to make this opportunity the best opportunity, that's what it'll be.
Yeah.
So...
Cool. Well, keep kicking ass, dude. Guys, thanks for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't already. Check us out. Go to fflconvention.com now. Get registered for January's event. We got a bunch of big hitters coming there. We have, actually, I think I could say so. Gary V.
Yeah.
Gary V is going to be there. He's going to be our
That's huge.
keynote. Yep. We're working on getting Dion back, too, from last year. We got Chris Carter coming. We got Dave Anderson, Layla Ali. There's more. So
who was the one this year? It was IT?
it was E.T. Eric Thomas. Yep.
Oh, he was
he was
dope.
savage.
He
Yep.
was dope.
Yep. So who knows? Maybe we'll have him back. I don't know.
I'll be up there too.
And Stan Smith will be there too, Stanley. So thanks again, guys. Subscribe if you haven't already. And you know where to find us every week right here on True Talk. We'll see you next week.